Hey everyone, welcome to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. This is a special video daily editorial as we are getting an update from Eskay Mining, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ESK and on the OTCQX under the symbol ESKYF. I am joined by Quinton Hennigh, technical advisor, as well as John DeDecker, vice president of exploration at Eskay Mining. Now, we're doing this in video format because John is going to be sharing some images and some further information with all of you to follow up on the news release that came out today. As we are recording this November 8th, the title of the news release says, Eskay Mining encounters broad intercepts of precious metals, rich stockwork, feeder mineralization at TV, including almost 48 meters, grading 5.2 grams per ton gold equivalent, within a much larger intercept of 140 meters, grading 2.6 grams per ton gold equivalent, and also 44 meters, grading 4.7 grams per ton gold equivalent. Now, a lot to take in here, but overall, these are another round of good drill results from this broader consolidated Eskay property. John, take us through some initial comments here of what these results are telling you about the potential here at this consolidated Eskay property, please.
Okay, thanks, Corey, for having us. I'll pull up my screen real quick and show you some of the images from the news release today. So reporting on is stringer style mineralization, or VMS feeder zone type sulfide mineralization. What we see is that we've encountered a fairly broad zone of pretty good gold and very high silver grades within our feeder zone. One of the most significant components of this discovery is that this feeder zone or stringer zone is up section or above our lower massive sulfide zone that we discovered last year during last year's program. And as we were observing the alteration style and mineralization style within this zone, we started to get the idea that, hey, there must be a second seafloor horizon above this stringer zone where all of these hydrothermal fluids were venting. And sure enough, we discovered that with one of our last holes, and I'll share that with you shortly. But what we encountered over break length and up and down dip, this sort of feeder zone style sulfide mineralization, where we see some examples of sulfide minerals and intensely silicified rock in both these cases. And this silicification is actually the type of alteration that vectors us towards our seafloor magnified horizon. And it was drilled off the same pad as the 2163 that we reported on. Actually has quite a bit of visible silver mineralization right here, where we have fibergite and pyrargyrite. These are both silver-bearing sulfosalts. And as everybody knows, we've been waiting on our assays, and we're still waiting on the assay from this hole, but we do have visible sulfosalts and sulfide mineralization that actually continues surrounding this zone that we're reporting on here. Quinton, now I'll go to our next slide.
Sure. Yep. I was going to bring Quinton in here quickly, just for a quick comment, Quinton, on the importance here of finding the potential of, it sounds like almost a second seafloor or a second level of mineralization.
Yeah, look, what's intriguing, I mean, these guys have done a great job in the forensics of the drilling and the data that's coming out of these drill holes, and identifying that we have a stacked system. And John will probably speak more to that here in a minute. But what we're seeing in these holes is that we have a huge stockwork that sits above, as John said, a lower sulfide zone that was encountered last year. Last year, some of the holes that were drilled hit massive sulfide. It looked like a seafloor type style of mineralization. But this new series of holes that we have, which is stratigraphically above, is hitting a stockwork again. Stockwork is the feeder for a massive sulfide. So the premise here is, hey, there must be another one of these guys sitting up section. And lo and behold, right at the end of the season, they managed to hit a new massive sulfide system on top of this. Now, the assays today, what are they from? They're from the stockwork mineralization. The fact that we have holes at like, what is it? I think hole 54, if I remember right, is more or less true width of the stockwork zone. It's like 92 meters. I mean, that's absolutely immense for a VMS system. That is huge scale. Okay. Oftentimes you see, 10, 20, 30 meters for a VMS system. We're seeing 92 meters in the case of hole 54. To me, that bodes well for what might be above. I think the sulfide that they hit late in the season is really just a small snippet of what we expect to see on a much, much bigger scale going forward.
Okay, thanks, Quinton. John, walk us through some more of these images here. Give us some more color on these results, please.
So what we're looking at on this slide is a view looking down dip through the system. And this is giving us more or less a true thick view of the system here. This is a leapfrog model of alteration and what I'm calling our probability density of intercepting gold. This is based off of the drill results that we have for TV. This right here, this long hole that's kind of cutting a long strike, that is TV 2163 that we reported on. You also have this other hole coming from up section, that's TV 2154. And then a couple of the other holes we reported on came from this area. But what I was able to do in mid-season using some of last year's data was show that we have an intense hydrothermal alteration that's coinciding with our stringer zone coming through here. We have our massive sulfide body here. Very critically, we're able to see that we have asymmetric alteration where in the subsea floor environment, you have hydrothermal alteration from our feeder zone. And then up here would be above this floor, and there's no hydrothermal alteration because you're a rock that doesn't exist yet. Subsequently, the hydrothermal system got reestablished, formed the stringer zone that we're reporting on in the news release. But once again, we saw that we had this asymmetric alteration. Now, this was all by logging core this summer, but I threw this together in the field and we were able to predict that we were going to have another zone of massive sulfide somewhere area here. Sure enough, that's accepted, and we reported on this, I believe, in our last press release where we encountered clastic massive sulfide. You can see these pyrite clasts here from sand to gravel size clasts that have been infilled by more replacement style sulfide. So this is what you would expect for an actual massive sulfide mound on the seafloor. It does have pyrargyrite and visible sulfosalt minerals that are silver bearing in it. And importantly, it was associated with a Skytem and IP anomaly showing that our Skytem survey is actually bearing fruit. And I could speak to more of those here shortly with respect to one of our other holes that we drilled just to the north of TV.
John, can you simplify for everybody now the different zones that you have a handle on and the potential size or scale that could be within each of these zones?
Yep, so I'll go back to this slide right here. So we do have intense hydrothermal alteration below our first zone to form here, the massive sulfide zone, and then sandwiched in between the upper massive sulfide zone here, we have our stringer zone that's feeding into our upper massive sulfide zone. So TV really has about 3 distinct zones associated with it. Now go down.
I would just point out the scale is in the lower right in that image. Okay, so from the very top, the bottom of his image there, all the way up to the top to the newly discovered massive sulfide is probably on the order of 300 meters of mineralized section. That's absolutely enormous.
Quinton, how does that compare to other deposits, other resources that are looking like this or have already been proved out?
Sure. Look, you know, if you go over to Skeena's Eskay Creek deposit, which is just about 13 kilometers due north of here, the stockwork zone below that is just a few tens of meters thick. It's maybe 30 meters, 40 meters tops thick. And then you had the massive sulfide horizon at the top. Again, that's only a few meters, maybe 3, 4, 5 meters on average. Sometimes it was a little thicker. But this thing, in terms of scale, is enormous. Like I said earlier, the stockwork here, just that kind of that blue zone that you see right in the middle of the screen for this upper massive sulfide system. That thing itself is 90 meters thick. It's basically two and a half times the size of, or the thickness of what was seen in Eskay Creek. It's also open along strike. Okay, this drilling's been concentrated off of several pads that you can see here. There's nothing constraining this right now, so it's open along strike. It's also open down dip into the mountainside. It could be much, much bigger.
All right.
Yeah.
John, tell us what you guys are going to be doing then to follow up on some of this and to show just how big this could be, because Quinton outlined there that it's open sounding like in all directions.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were doing when the early snowstorm hit and truncated our drill program prematurely. We had actually had started to drill some of these Skytem anomalies to the north, and we're within 1 day of moving down to the southern Skytem anomalies when we got about 3 meters of snow when it shut everything down. That said, we were able to drill one of these Skytem anomalies about 300 meters to the north of known mineralization at TV, as well as up stratigraphic section from TV. And that's very important. We're up section and 300 meters to the north along strike with this drill hole here, TV 2181. This hole was targeting the Skytem anomaly shown on this map, as well as an IP chargeability anomaly. And what we intercepted was a dacite breccia with intense sulfide mineralization. The assays are still pending from this, but the presence of this sulfide mineralization shows that we do have an extension of this VMS system to the north. And that it also is up section and may potentially link TV with Jeff shown here to the north. It's actually one larger VMS system with focused hydrothermal activity, most centered around TV.
So John, around that hole that you just outlined and zoomed into, looks like there are a couple other drill holes or at least drill plans around there. What can you tell us about some of these other targets or holes, I guess?
We actually have pads built on every anomalies that is associated with this white rectangle here. We have pads built and we had planned on drilling them in 2021. Again, the snow shut us down. So what we're going to do first thing next year is put the decking back on our pads and get back finishing drilling off of these pads.
Those are planned drill sites, Corey, to be clear. The little white circles with the crisscross thing, that's simply planned targeted drilling.
Okay. But it sounds like those pads are built. You guys are ready to go when the season kicks off again for drilling.
Yeah.
So Quinton, in terms of, you're the technical advisor here, what are you advising them to do in terms of the follow-up work and with all the potential? And then even to John's point of tying together that TV and Jeff zone, assuming you get some good results from that whole 21.
Certainly. Look, you know, I'm not going to say that my advice is what's driving this. I mean, John and his team are really doing a lot of the on the ground type work. Where I played a part was advising them about doing Skytems. Thomas Weiss, who's our geophysicist and also a director of the company, and I used to work together at Newmont. And, you know, I rely on Tom's expertise in this case. He said Skytem is the way to go. We did Skytem. That those images that John was just showing are the data from that lumpiness that you see in there. We call them pimples or blisters. Those are interpreted to be likely sulfide accumulations in the subsurface, like they're blobs of sulfide, either stockwork or perhaps massive sulfide or something. But those blobs are interpreted to be part of the sulfide system. And if you look at that image, John, if you don't mind, just throw it back up there again for a second. You can see all of the little blobs right around TV there. I mean, look at that thing. It's just lumpy, like all get out. The fact that we saw, unfortunately, we only got that one hole done, 81, and we saw great sulfides in it that confirm that little blister pimple up there looks like it has sulfide like we see down at TV. That, by the way, just to be clear, right there in the middle of the box where you see the kinds of reds and oranges in semi-transparent, that is the drilled resort or deposit in its current form. Okay, but you can imagine, I mean, all of these little lumpy bits all around there could very well be part of the sulfide system. So when we say this is big, you can see what we mean. This is really big. And then if you zoom out just a wee bit there, John, we can see TV or Jeff. This system really continues all the way to the north up at Jeff. Again, we see these bumpy features, and you can see the kind of the shapes of the sulfides in gold and silver that we've hit so far. There's a lot more to test here. I mean, there's just heaps more. There's even stuff over on the other side of the anticline. Look at the targets, 14, 15, and 16. Those also look like sulfide accumulations or, potential VMS type stuff. This is truly a huge system. The distance between TV and Jeff, you can see down in the scale down there in the lower right-hand side, it's about two kilometers in a bit. Okay. This is, to put it in perspective, Eskay Creek was about maybe 800 or 900 meters long and about 150 meters average in width. This is the original Eskay Creek deposit. All right, so you could fit, many of those in that field of view right now.
Okay. John, before I get you out of here, then, can you give us just insights into how many meters are still in the lab in terms of what the news flow is going to look like for the rest of this year, even into early next year, before you can get another program going in summer next year?
Well, I'd say we'll have a good 75% of our assays have not been returned. And of what we have, we don't have much in the way of complete holes yet. It does seem that there has been some kind of random grabbing of bags at the labs. So that's been one of the delays, is that we need to be able to report on entire drill holes. We don't want to have, half of our mineralized zone returned, but we're still waiting on the other half of it. So, we're hoping by the end of the year, we'll have most of our assays in. But again, it's been a pretty long haul as far as getting these things returned.
Yeah, you're not alone. We're hearing that.
It was
from
February this year before we got all the final assays from last year, and that was only 20 holes. Okay, this is 98 holes, I think, or something, and they have 270 odd batches of assays. And like John said, it seems to be very random, like they're grabbing whatever's convenient and assaying it, and it's coming back in fits and spurts right now. But, at least we got these 5 holes complete. It's a good start.
Yeah, well, and hey guys, we'll follow up as some more news hits the market, but you're not alone in getting kind of those random results back from the lab and the delays, unfortunately, that continue to happen. But hey, if anybody has any follow-up questions for John, for Quinton, or anybody else at Eskay Mining, please email me, fleck@kereport.com. I will get those addressed for you, and we'll also follow up on the back of some more news. Maybe with another video interview too. I hope you all found this useful and informative, walking through some of these images. John, Quinton, thank you for your time, guys. We'll follow up on the back of some more news.